everybody. Welcome back to the Report Cards podcast. This is our 11th episode.
I'm amazed that you remember which episode it is. It's been a month since we've gotten together.
It's been a while.
Man, we have lots to talk about.
It's crazy. The world's going crazy, even more so. But we've also had family time, vacations, all of the things.
Yeah.
So for all the few people out there listening to us, we appreciate it. Thank you for keeping up to date with us. Like, subscribe, comment. We do have a Patreon active as well, so show some support if you think we're doing good things. We love it. Thank you.
Hey, speaking of that, will you send that to me?
Yeah.
So I can send it to my people.
For sure.
Because not all my people go on.
It'll be the
YouTube and Telegram. They don't go on that.
Gotcha. It'll be in the link in our YouTube channels and descriptions and all of those things too. But I'll make sure you get it.
Okay.
But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff to catch up on. Anything that you want to start out on in particular?
No, I want you to pick.
All right. Well, I mean, my biggest thing is the latest, greatest news is definitely the most recent executive order or soon-to-be executive order of the student loan forgiveness thing.
And do you know the difference between, from what I've read, it's a $10,000 reduction on normal student loans, but if you got a Pell Grant, it's $20,000.
Yep.
What is a Pell Grant?
I don't even know. Pell Grant, I have a feeling it's probably like a normal grant, usually given out to probably lower income people. I have no clue, but that's my assumption of it. Is it's some form of state or federal grant given out.
And it's also my understanding that as long as you're making less than $115,000,
$125 for the individual, $250 for couples.
Gotcha.
So that's crazy to me. I mean, I'm split on it. I'm so split on it mainly because the student loans are ridiculous. Yeah. It is an actual form of modern day slavery. That's my opinion of it, because my generation especially was told from middle school on,
you have to go to college.
You have to go to college or you're a failure. And so many people, including myself, that shouldn't have gone to college, mainly because they just didn't know what the hell they wanted to do with their lives. That's the biggest thing. Or they're just not meant to go to college. They could have gotten a skilled job, anything else. Took out a ridiculous amount of student loans and either dropped out or went into college for something that does them no good going forward in the future, and is stuck with a ridiculous amount of debt. And even worse than that is the interest rates on those debts are nuts. It's insane. And it quickly gets there, and you don't even realize it. Like about 5-6 years of those student loans racking up, and you'll quickly realize that your debt has damn near doubled or more the longer you push them out, especially for those who don't necessarily pay them right away. It's crazy. So I'm torn on it, but I'm also frustrated with it too, all at the same time.
So what happens to all those families? Robert is a good example.
Mm-hmm. Paid on.
He's been working his ass off to put all his girls through college. Mm-hmm. One out of the three got a full ride, but the other ones, they didn't.
Yep.
And he has literally given them the wonderful gift of that. Mm-hmm. Here I am with someone that I completely disagree with, because remember when you were going to college, I told you I won't pay for it.
Yes, exactly. And
I'm the believer. It's not that I don't love this person here. He is my son. I love him to death. But I'm a true believer that you work for what you have. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that we don't make it achievable for kids who really want to go to college, and make it realistic. Give them time to pay it off.
Well,
and these colleges are getting outrageous tuition for nothing.
Yeah.
Where were our refunds
For the last
COVID?
2 years?
Yeah. They didn't even go to. I don't think Abby went to school.
Yeah. And a lot of them still aren't. You know, granted, most of them are back in. I want to say Xavier isn't allowing still unvaccinated kids to go into the classroom.
Okay.
I might be wrong on that, but that's what I heard, and I'm pretty sure that's the case. And that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into COVID, but that's
it's all related. It's absolutely all related. Just like the teachers in Australia right now, the ones that were unvaccinated, they're welcome back, but they get 18% less than the people that were vaccinated.
That sounds so illegal, but whatever. That's crazy.
It just adds to it. So, speaking of college, I think that we were brainwashed. We were told, the parents, because of course we want what's best for our children.
Sure.
We want your lives to be better than our lives.
And obviously, it's a smart thing to do. Getting educated is obviously a great thing.
But the thing is they weren't educated. And if they were educated in this wokeness bullshit. Think of all these colleges out there that teach these kids to hate America, to, you're white, so you are... you should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, for my experience, at least in college, that necessarily wasn't the case. I was lucky enough to go to
no knowledge college.
Well, I mean, at least with the college that I went to, I didn't have that experience. Mine was definitely, if anything, my psychology professor, I definitely assumed was probably a little bit more conservative leaning based off of a lot of the teachings that he taught, or at least was open to teaching an individual, the actual idea of what psychology is. And when you break those things down, you have individuals and communities and that alone right there, that he was willing to speak on individuals and the freedoms and, broad spectrums like that, opens him up to at least independent or leaning right. And then economics professor, definitely loved America. We talked a lot about capitalism, but we learned about everything. So I was lucky enough to have not a decidedly left-leaning woke in college experience, and I hope most people are, but some aren't. I still want to stick on this executive order because it's important. What is happening right now is insane because it trickles onto a lot of different things too, like the midterm elections coming up. Obviously, this is yet another swing for the fences for the left wing to really make as big as a dent that they can in these upcoming elections, and it's working. Let me just say, it is working. Maybe not.
Well, not so far with the midterms or the.
I'll disagree.
We're seeing a huge red wave, baby.
We'll find out. I don't necessarily.
Did you vote in the primaries?
No.
I voted for the first time in the primaries this year.
Mm-mm.
And it just goes to show you that we need to do more of that.
I agree. And I could care less. I am.
Don't say that.
It's not that I care less. It's just I'm frustrated with. It doesn't matter. Okay. They're all swamp garbage people.
You're right.
That's just my opinion. I don't care if there's a D or an R on it. You're garbage. You've wasted millions of dollars of your own state's money and other people's money to propagandize one half of the population to vote for you, to then corrupt the system even further. Fuck yourself.
What other way is there? If you don't vote, what other way is there?
Anarchy, chaos. I don't know.
We have all that.
Well, maybe we need a little more.
But it's the one right that they have not taken from us, that we need to make sure that we do, and we vote for the candidate that we've researched. There are good people in this world. We just need more of them to get into politics.
I agree, but most people, and I don't even blame them for not wanting to be interested in politics because it's toxic and ignorance is bliss for the most part.
It's not,
Yes,
no,
it
it's not.
Yes, it is.
That's why we're in the position that we are, is we weren't paying attention. I'm the first to admit I wasn't paying attention, and I would take what the mainstream media would present to me,
Sure,
and I would assume it was fact. Well, now I know better.
well,
I can't go back.
that's
It's like
obviously
once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep.
the masses is definitely still the ones who are going to go out and vote. They're going to pick the side of their tribe regardless, and that's how they're going to vote down the line.
Well, we shouldn't be thinking of it, and I've been saying this now for a couple months. It's not a D and an R thing. It is finding the best person
Sure.
who truly wants to work for us. It's called a servant leader.
Yeah. Well, and that's their job, and that's what they should be altogether. But unfortunately, they're not. They've made a career out of this. And again, we're getting sidetracked still.
Okay.
But why I think that this bill is important, or this executive order is important, is because it's their swing for the hills of
Yeah.
like getting midterm elections. And I don't think that there's going to be as big as a red wave as there would have been
Had they not?
2 months ago. 2 months ago, yeah, red wave all day. I'm not worried about anything. But the abortion thing is the timing of it was so incredibly fucking wrong. Not because I disagree with the act of it in general, and that's a whole nother conversation, but they just shot themselves in the foot for no reason. They fired up the base that their opposition, they fired them up completely, and now you throw this on top of them, giving them just enough firepower. I still think half of America, if not more than half of America, isn't necessarily super happy about this.
Well, it doesn't benefit anyone because, first of all, the
I
kids
agree.
that
I
truly
agree.
have debt, 10,000 isn't going
I-
to
that's-
make them or break them.
Completely.
And all it does to the rest of us that doesn't have student loans or
Another
have
half
kids,
a trillion in spending.
Exactly. It just makes our kids and our grandkids have to pay more because we've made awful decisions.
Yes.
Now, had before we made it to $100 billion to Ukraine,
Yet again.
if they truly wanted to help the American people, why wouldn't they have done this before they gave $100 billion to Ukraine?
Well, but that's this whole money thing is fucking insane, and nobody just. I know a lot of people, especially on the right, are talking about it a lot because it's obviously a negative thing in general. But again, what got us out of the great financial crisis, however many years ago, was $800 billion of a bailout. $800 billion. That's it. And from the day that they
but
did
that didn't really benefit us.
I don't care. Look at the stock market from that day, and then eventually the American people just started to get slowly better, and it saved probably hundreds of thousands of jobs for sure. I'm not agreeing that it was a great thing, but it definitely started the progress of better. 800 billion. We're so fucking far beyond that. That 800 billion is nothing anymore. We're boasting $1 trillion, $2 trillion fucking anything, stimulus, all of the things, damn near every other month.
Yeah.
At least a couple times a year now. So money is crazy and it is insane. But
well, it's the root of all evil.
It is. And the $100 billion that we've sent to Ukraine,
which is not even going to the people of
it's
Ukraine.
not.
So people wake up.
It's not.
Stop letting them do this.
It is.
The only way we can stop this is to stop electing these people.
No.
They keep giving our money away.
No, it's just you're replacing it with another fucking person who's going to get paid for the rest of their life.
So are we having no leadership in your made up world? Well, and the way, if we went back to our true Constitution, we the people.
Yeah.
We run America, and these people work for us.
Yes.
We need to get back to that.
Well, we also don't need as big
Oh,
of an actual government and a state government even as what we needed
absolutely.
back in the day.
Well, in all of your 3-letter agencies, we don't need any of them because they're all
Well,
corrupt.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that we need some of them or
We
most
need
of
the
them.
FBI.
Well, we'll get into that too. But I'm not saying
we need the IRS.
I'm not saying all of those things, or that's just a lot of conversations and debates with that. But it's just gotten far bigger than what it needs to be for sure. Going back, because again,
student loans.
It's just the midterms are going to be, I don't think, as big as a sweep as we think they are, and because of this bill, that's just an extra firepower towards it. Regardless, you're right. I don't think $10,000 being taken
makes a difference.
I don't really think it makes a difference, only because I remember what my student loans looked like after 4 years, and I didn't rack up that much debt, but it doubled, almost tripled in a matter of a few years. So when it's not that much money to begin with, and then the interest that's accruing on top of it, like, would $10,000 for me have been great? I mean, sure, but that payment every month would have saved me maybe fucking $100, maybe $100, maybe, if so it's not really going to benefit a crazy amount of people. However, what's frustrating and just insulting is for all the people who made the smart choice not to go to college, not to take out debt to go to college, or the people who did work hard to work through college. Mm-hmm. It's a fucking slap in the face to them.
Yes.
And even the people who are going to benefit from this know that. They're not stupid. Of course, they're going to be a little selfish and say, well, this is great for me. Yeah, of course it's good for you. Yeah. And for the other few people who are going to get completely waived college fees and, an extra 10 grand on top of for the Pell Grants, like, those people are going to be fine. But it's setting a unbalanced form of just more fiscal bullshit monetary spending. You're only benefiting truly a very small amount of people compared where everybody else has to pay, especially for the fucking people who are making 30, 40 grand working, entry level jobs, small paying jobs. They're helping pay for that. Yeah. For the ones who did get educated, for the small people who did get educated in a good field who make a bunch of money, maybe still qualify for the actual forgiveness portion. Like, you start out making $98,000, you still qualify, you make plenty of money. Like, do you really need that? No. Is it great for you? Absolutely.
Well, it kind of goes back to all those companies and individuals that took PPE loans and PPE, right?
Yeah. Well, no.
PP.
I know what you're talking about.
The loans that don't need to be paid back. I think it's PPE.
It might be PPE.
Back when COVID started, which again was a huge hoax, and there were a lot of selfish people in this world that took these loans knowing they had a very good chance they'd never have to pay them back.
Yep.
And they didn't need it. Mm-hmm. Shame on those people. But you know what? They'll get their judgment one day.
Well, and what about for the future people who are going to college? I don't know the extent of what all of this entails. Is this going forward for people? Because what about for the people who are starting college right now?
I know, but there's so many. I think in this world we've let it get out of control. For instance, you had mentioned earlier all these kids that go to college because they were told since they were little kids. I did the same thing to you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you're going to college. Luckily for us, your sister chose the military.
Yeah.
But they're going to college. They don't know what they want. And here you get these kids after 5 years, $100,000 worth of student loan debt. And they have a liberal arts degree, mm-hmm. or they have a gender studies,
dance studies, all of it.
Okay, you guys, that is bullshit.
They have
taught you nothing, and you would have been better off learning to be an electrician because you'd
Yes.
be making a shit ton more money and you'd feel useful.
You got a $1,000 plus monthly payment to work at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Is what you just earned with a degree like that. You know, that's just the reality of the situation. A lot of these bullshit academia desired career paths, you know, the best that you will ever do with a degree like that is to then become a professor, which you're going to have to get a doctorate. So now you're 250 grand in debt. And then
really,
they only hire a few people a year.
What have you learned and contributed to society with any of those degrees?
Just spreading more garbage. But why I think it's important to know, though, if this is the standard going forward, I could see that as somewhat of a benefit for some people. But the biggest negative, though, that is just the reality of this is, guess what just got minimum $10,000 more expensive? Fucking college.
Yes, because even though they're reducing it or reduced your debt by 10, those colleges that are raking in money,
ridiculous,
hand over fist.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're going to raise it.
And why is that? Oh, it's because it's backed by the federal government. I mean, if you look at when FAFSA was created, look at it. Look at a chart from when it was implemented to today.
Yeah.
Of college costs from when FAFSA was created. It's astounding. The results, I mean, you're thousands and thousands of percents increased over, 40 years.
Where's all that money going?
It's going to the government. It's going to the Federal Reserve, truly, and interest. But obviously, all of the people at the higher ups in all of these public colleges, yeah, they're raking in a bunch of money that pays for everything, and that's why they have super nice schools these days. I mean, it's going everywhere, but the biggest moneymaker is the Federal Reserve and the people who decide to pay themselves $600,000 plus a year for being on a bullshit board and whatever, and but
how
ultimately,
do we stop that madness?
The only way to truly stop that and lower the cost of education is to stop having the government back the loans immediately. And I mean, because that's just the reality of it. When you have a subsidized higher education system in place, which we do, it's 100% subsidized, whether we think it's not or not. It is. That's why I, as a 17-year-old, was able to apply for a government loan to allow me to go to college. I was 17 years old, signing a piece of paper that turned me into a slave, essentially. That's what happened. But I mean, that's just the reality of it. If you took those out and forced people to actually get loans that were not backed completely by the government, I mean, costs would go down instantly. Maybe not a shit ton, but there would be definitely a giant decrease, mainly because you've now eliminated so many people from being able to go to college. That's just the reality of it. I mean, a lot of people won't be able to qualify for loans if it wasn't 100% backed by the government. So when you have attendance cut in half the next year, you're going to lower. A lot of people will lose their jobs. Schools will be making a lot less money, i.e., education will cost less. But that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's too far gone for what it is. It's only going to keep going the way that it is, just like how the housing works. FHA, it's the same fucking thing. When you look at when FHA was introduced to housing prices over so many years, obviously it increases asset values, it increases debt, and it increases costs. So those aren't going away. That's just the reality of it. But it would go down. It would be cheaper if those did. I just don't see that happening.
Well, I think, too, that parents should sit down with their kids and look at the world that we're in.
Yeah.
And do you really want to go to college?
Well,
and what do you want to go to college for?
There's a change now. And it's happened within the last 5 years, definitely. It has started to change in the last 5 years where for one major thing is there really hasn't been a major focus on the intermediate schools, those trade schools that happen
we need
in
more
high
of
school.
that.
I mean, we had some obviously in our area, but very few. And again, it was looked down upon to go to it.
Yeah.
Where
And
now,
why is that?
because
Now
you didn't go to
we're
college, you're going to be a janitor because you went to
But the
this trade
thing
school.
is those are the most important.
They are. For right now, they're
Yeah.
the most important jobs and an immediately high paying job. If you become a plumber, if you become an electrician, any form of like skilled labor, oh my God, you're going to make minimum 60 plus thousand immediately. And if you're even smarter and you start your own business, I mean, you're going to be a millionaire by 30.
Yeah.
And it's just the reality.
The electrician I had over, my pump, the switch on my pool pump stopped working.
Yeah.
I called him over and $160 to switch out.
For 10 minutes of work.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
some gas.
He might have been there for 20 minutes chatting with me, and I was happy to pay him $160.
Yeah.
But
and that was probably a good deal because you're cute.
Yeah, and he is a nice guy, and he does good work, and I paid for it.
But that's the thing is like for the kids that you work on air, you get licensed for air conditioners, and now you're an independent contractor or you start your own business. I mean, dude, you're talking like $200 to $500 a call, just every time somebody calls and you have to go out there and you do 10 minutes of work. You're making $200 to $500 minimum.
But it's very rewarding at the same time because people, we need them.
Yeah.
And we need people to do jobs that they like.
Yeah.
And that they're good at. I think it starts before college. It starts in high school. We need to get back to having home ec. We need to have lifestyle classes in junior high and high school because what's happening are these kids,
they're set up for failure.
They
100%.
are. They don't know how to do things.
Yes.
And yes, well, that's what the parents' job is for. You're right, it is. And I think we have taught you a lot of life skills.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
parents are blinded by what's called love. They're blinded by it. They don't want to see their kids hurt or in pain, so they're going to try and make their lives as easy as possible. And especially for the lucky ones who are well off, that really makes it easier for them to just not ever have to deal with adversity. Now, kids who are not as lucky, they deal with adversity. They learn life skills quicker than others. But for like myself, like I thought I was educated on life a little bit better than others, more so because of the things you guys made me do. But I definitely learned the vast majority of my failures and fuck-ups in my early 20s, probably like the majority of everybody else. Sometimes they wait until their 30s before they really fuck up their life. But that, in my mid-20s, I was getting wages garnished and really getting myself in terrible, choices and debts that...
I remember when the phone would ring, I'm like, oh my God, how much does he need now?
But that's the thing. It's just, and it's not like I wasn't making good money. That was the problem. Is just I got trapped into a debt cycle that most stupid people do, i.e. myself when I was 24, 25. And once you get into that trap, it's so fucking hard to get out unless you have support or unless you make some really tough decisions and suck up some hard pain for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, I worked in an industry where I was able to have very inexpensive rent. So the money that I did pull in, I could put it all towards debt and be free after a short amount of time. Most people don't have that. Most people, it's either move back into parents or they're stuck in debt forever. And that's why I usually put a massive influence on be fucking smart. And that's why home ec should be taught in high school, because I feel like there probably was a course in my high school, but I don't think so. Only because I probably would have taken it or would have been forced to take it. If kids understood how taxes worked, if kids understood how interest and debt worked, especially in a capitalistic debt-based economy, if kids understood the decisions that they made in the next year or 2 years, how that could impact their life, it would drastically change the amount of fuck-ups that happen for kids Because, again, when you make bad choices in your early 20s, adding a unplanned pregnancy on top of crippling, I don't even know how people get in $10,000, $50,000 worth of credit cards. I don't have a limit I never had a limit that allowed me to go over $1,000 ever. Like, I don't know how people do it, but 10, 15,000 plus in credit card debt. You're fucking crazy. Oh, my car broke down. I have to buy a new car. You're fucking crazy. Like, those are the things that people don't understand.
Well, your mom and dad were pretty crazy because we had all that. And I think at one point we were probably close to 20 grand in credit card debt.
That's insane. How? What credit card companies like, you know what? You're maxed out. Let's double it. Or
Well,
let's let you get another credit card from a different company and let's give you $5 grand, 10 grand
because
on that.
that's how they make their money.
I get it.
Making us more in debt.
I get that
And I fell
completely.
into the trap. And you know what, Nick?
But that's
You
insane.
lived through all that. You just didn't know it because we didn't tell you because we wanted you to have
What
a
was
better.
the monthly payments on that?
You know, I was really creative. I mean, think about it, Nick. There were times that your dad wasn't working; he was going back to school.
That has to be $1,000 a month in credit card payments because they're 20% interest minimum. You got 20 grand plus.
Well, the one thing that I did well, and I was taught at a very early age, by Liz.
Consolidate.
No, Liz said you pay your bills first, and then everything else comes second.
Sure.
And that was my mindset. Now that wasn't your father's, so there was a little bit of a. It took us longer to get out of debt than needed to be, but we did it. And there were a lot of years that, well, what I would do is I always had a great credit rating.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure.
Always, 800 or higher, and they would just keep giving me more debt. And shame on me. I thought, oh my gosh, they think I'm special. I'm wonderful.
I gotta go shopping.
Yes. And what I would do is I would make minimum payments on several cards.
Everything.
And I would literally, the time I used to spend budgeting it all out, I could have, made more money had I, done something, differently. But long story short, I got myself out of that predicament. But you don't want anybody else you don't want your kids to do that either.
No.
But unfortunately, the way that we live today, we think we need this stuff.
Yes.
And when you look around your house, I still do it today. I look around my house and I'm like, I don't need the majority of this stuff. We've become a materialistic.
Well, and I think that's where, and I'm sure we've had this conversation before, even on here, but I have this conversation probably twice a month with people, whether it's a friend or a stranger, I don't care. It's just, I feel so strongly about it, especially when I see an 18-year-old to like 24, 25-year-old who just bought a new car. Oh my God, do I think you are the biggest fucking idiot in the world. Yeah. Unless you paid cash or unless you have, that's less than 10% minimum of your net income.
Yeah.
And that's like, you have everything else stable in the background. You have a house or you have a well affordable rent. Like, unless those are the causes, you are the biggest idiot in the world. You bought a depreciating asset. Even if your interest rate's zero, I don't fucking care. Because with the full coverage and that car payment, because of course you got a brand new car. God forbid you didn't buy a $3,200 Honda Civic with 150,000 miles. No, you had to get the brand new car because you could. You could.
Mm-hmm.
And, but my other car was just nickeling and diming me. All right. Yeah. $500 a year at least on that nickel and diamond piece of shit. I get it. You had to get that new car. That's $684 monthly car payment plus $283 for your full coverage. You're in a grand of debt every month for 5, 6, 7 years now. You're dumb. It's so crazy. It's crazy. It's frustrating.
And, and we all fall into it. I'm a perfect example. I bought a new car thinking I needed that to have a
When? What are you talking about? When?
my my Audi.
Yeah, but that was after the car accident.
I know, but I could have bought a cheaper used car.
It's also different.
But I think in my mindset, if I wanted better listings,
sure,
I needed to show them that I had my shit together.
It is.
But at the end of the day, that had no reflection of I'm a damn good real estate agent,
but that's
and it shouldn't make a difference on what I drive.
There's a big difference between stability for you and the kid who just graduated high school and discovered he has a credit score for the first time and has a part-time job or works full-time and makes $15 an hour, somehow now qualifies for a $46,000 new car.
Well, you can't even get. Do you know what you get for $46,000? Not much.
You can get a baseline level brand new car that you will love for 3 months and be like, this was the biggest mistake of my life. That's exactly what you'll get. I mean, it's crazy too. We'll change the topic a little bit because it kind of goes hand in hand. The automobile market is a little insane actually right now. It's been
but it's created. They created this.
Sure. Well, a debt-based society will do that. But the used car prices are finally falling, but they're controlled too. You got to keep that in mind. These are controlled contractions, and it's telling of what is to actually come, mainly because right now, 1 in 10 Americans are getting their cars repossessed right now, today. In like New York, it's like 20% are 90 days or longer. And so many people are either getting their cars repossessed right now or will very quickly because they're not making their fucking car payments. What happened before 2008? A lot of the same shit. It's spiraling. It's crazy. I mean, the debt to income ratio for a car is crazy. I forget what it was, but it's over a year's salary of what they're willing to let people borrow for now, where that just wasn't the case before. And I don't understand how that's possible, and it's spiraling. And if you're one of those 1 in 10 Americans, like, it sucks that you're part of that statistics. Don't be a part of that statistic, essentially. It's just crazy.
What do? They should sell it.
Well, they should sell it. And that's the shitty thing is like, what do you mean I should sell it? I'm going to lose 40% of my money. Yeah. You're going to lose, let's say you got it for 20 grand. You're going to lose 40%. You might be able to sell it for 12 if you're lucky.
Well, no, I don't think that they would lose it in this market because they're still the supply is still minimal. Where if they do it now and do it quickly,
they should have done it 3 months ago. Or
well,
6
it's
months
kind
ago.
of like anybody who wanted to sell their
Exactly.
house. They should have done it 3 months ago.
Yes.
Houses are still selling, don't get me wrong, but you can't put any price tag on a house.
Yep.
I have 2 really good examples of people that I care about that wouldn't listen to me, and we'll just keep that to ourselves. But just find a good real estate agent and listen to her.
Yeah.
Or him. Hey, I did my own spot.
There you go. It's just crazy that people just utterly self-destruct on themselves because it's a perception thing. It's like, everybody else has a brand new car. I have to have this brand new car.
It's called keeping up with the Joneses.
Yes.
And I heard it my entire life, but I didn't listen until just now.
Well, and that's why me and my wife, we have 3 vehicles, and they're all old, relatively crappy or decent cars. All of them. But they're also costing us $0 a month. And that's the difference, is we will drive our cars until they literally die.
Well, and guess what? You have a dad who can fix almost anything.
And that's the beautiful thing about it is, yeah, maintenance is relatively free or cheap. And regardless, Johnny will have a car, hopefully.
Well, and even more reason that when we find, as parents, when you have a kid that's good with their hands and enjoy, car mechanics, encourage them.
Yep.
There is nothing wrong with being the best mechanic.
Anything skilled like that, especially when it comes to something involving labor and something that can't be replaced directly by a computer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's just as good as getting a 4-year education in engineering. You're gonna make more money if we're just looking at it as a job perspective. As an engineer, sure, but that debt that's costing you to get that education.
Your net is.
I'm not saying it's still the same, but you're going to have a very quicker rise to wealth being an engineer, being a electrician, a plumber, or fixing ACs, whatever. You are going to rise to wealth quicker if you're smart than you would as an engineer who's got to wait 4 or 5 years minimum to start seeing the benefits, plus the 100,000 plus minimum of debt that they have to pay off for the 10 years, 30 years.
Well, it's just like any other business. Real estate, for example. When I started in the business, I thought, man, it's a little harder than I thought it would be, and I didn't make any money. But I kept at it, and I kept at it, and eventually it pays off.
Yeah.
The thing about these skilled jobs, you do your job, you take care of your clients, you have a client base forever.
And their friends and their families, if you've done a really good job, forever. And that's the beauty of it. We talked about the new executive order. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we go? Because
I think it's just another way. And again, I think we're now to the point where we're agreeing that it's not a Republican-Democrat thing. There's a ton of criminals up in Washington. They do need to drain the swamp. But I believe the Democrats are doing this to kind of lessen their pain, but they're also doing it for another reason, and that is to divide us even more.
Sure.
Everything that's happened over the last 2.5 years,
they're
trying. Well, more than that, yes. The deep state and all these evil people have been doing to us. When people figure out what they've been doing to us, they're going to freak out. But any opportunity they have to divide us, whether it's black and white, gay and straight,
everything.
People who have student loans, people who don't have student loans, they're doing everything in their power to keep us divided, because divided,
we fall.
And they can conquer, they can keep controlling us the way they have.
What's so frustrating is I see it on both sides now. Mm-hmm. If anything, I probably see it on the right more, but definitely on both sides. The vocalization and the verbal usage of the word civil war.
Yeah.
We're on the verge of civil war. This is civil war. And the fact that the mainstream media, because that's what I pay attention to when I do see the mainstream media, what words are they using? What are all of them using? Because again, they're actually on a pretty close team, whether we like to think it or not.
They are. I mean,
they're working together.
You can flip through the channels and the same exact script is being said on every channel.
But that's the thing that scares me, is because usually when these words are getting associated with one another and it's consistent, it's usually telling me that they're preparing the masses for exactly whatever that is, because a year from now they've been told that there's going to be a civil war. Well, now it's not as shocking. Same thing with the Russian war in Ukraine. If you keep saying that we're getting involved in this war, which we are, we're literally fighting a war, whether we think it or not. We are fighting a fucking war. There might not be boots on the ground now, but your dollars are paying for every bit of it.
Yeah.
Uh, it's something that usually comes to fruition a year, 2 years down the line. Actually, speaking of the war, because I think it's important, I thought about this the other day. There is no way, there is zero way that Russia can lose this war.
Well, they're not going to lose the war. And Russia, imagine, just put, and again, I'm not pro-Russia. I'm just pro,
common sense, reality.
Exactly. I'm not an idiot. Russia went into Ukraine because of the bio labs.
I don't know about that, but that's a cause, sure. It's a part of it.
We know for a fact there are bio labs,
of course,
in Ukraine.
But that's not the only reason. They want to expand their territory. They want USSR to come back. It's the biggest regret Russia has.
Wait. No, let me finish.
You're good. You go.
Okay. And again, I'm not pro-Russia.
Fuck Russia.
I am conscious, and I know what's going on. Ukraine was and is the most corrupt country because of their leadership ever to exist.
Yep.
So just imagine for a second here that we were Russia instead of the United States of America, and we are blessed to be Americans. But let's just say we're in Russia, let me reword this. Let's say that Mexico decides to put biolabs on our border. Wouldn't we have a problem with that?
No, I don't think biolabs are the reason.
Well, but okay, what are they doing at these biolabs?
If
they're creating bioweapons.
Yeah, aren't we all? As a sovereign nation, you're allowed to put shit on your own fucking land. I'm not against that. They just want to expand their territory. They've always seen Ukraine as a part of their nation after the split, especially.
Well, the majority of Ukrainians are Russian.
Yes, they all speak the same language or whatever for the most part. A lot of them do.
But at the same time, if we have all these issues here in America and we're not addressing our homeless, our drug problems, we're not closing our border. We're letting the fentanyl and the child traffickers come in like there's no limit. We're completely okay with that, but we have to keep sending money to Ukraine because bad Russia is attacking them. Russia will take down Ukraine. I have no doubt about it.
They have to.
And I am not a selfish person, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what?
Here's
fuck Ukraine. We got enough problems. We got to take care of our own.
That's why I said the only good thing that I've agreed with Joe Biden was getting out of Afghanistan. And now it's equaled out to garbage because we've gotten involved with Ukraine. We've traded one war for another. Somebody in the dark is making billions and billions
First
of
of all,
dollars.
Joe Biden is not good
He's
at
garbage.
all.
He's garbage. But I'm not for any war.
Exactly.
But here's why I said what I said earlier. Russia cannot lose this war.
They're not going to. They're not going to. I'm not even worried about them losing. They are doing it.
So we're fighting. We're backing a lost war.
Exactly.
Is the reality.
Well, we've wasted money all these years.
Trillions.
Every freaking war that we got into, there was no reason for it.
Yep.
It was the industrial complex.
Yep.
It was all these criminals that benefited from our military losing their lives over nothing.
And creating way more terrorists than ever before.
Yeah.
I mean, when you completely destabilize a country and kill hundreds of thousands of them, to think that wouldn't enrage and create terrorism is fucking insane.
Yeah.
I would become one of them had they killed my parents in front of me and all of it. Yeah. It's just, that's so unfathomable to think differently.
So when we say that, there is no reason we're in Ukraine.
I agree.
There is no freaking reason.
But I think we're fighting a lost war, and it's important because we put so much money into it. We're literally fighting a monetary war currently.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say it's a lost war or Russia can't lose this war is because if they lose the war, that means we've won World War III. That's what it means to me. And I think that's important to say. That means we've won World War III.
I don't think that
and that's the last
it
thing that I
has
want.
anything to do with World War III.
Yes, it does. It has
No.
everything to do with it.
No.
It has everything to do with it. You know, India, Iran, China, Russia have all developed their own currency. Yeah, their own
to me,
world.
It's probably a smart thing to do.
It is a smart thing to do, and they're challenging the dollar, and it's playing out probably exactly how they want it to play out.
Yes.
But, you know, that's obviously World War III would be the absolute worst thing in the world because it will involve nuclear bombs and other weaponized systems that I don't even know exist and we don't even know exist. And that would literally mean millions and millions of people will die, and everything that we know today will completely not look the way that it is. That's the reality of it. And that's why it's disgusting that we're putting so much money into Ukraine. It sucks that this is happening. It's the worst thing in the world. And I couldn't fathom being a sovereign nation and then one day somebody just rolling up and saying, you're done.
Well, I don't think they were a sovereign nation.
I agree. Again, it's a corrupt, fucked country.
It is. And I feel sorry
with a terrible history
for the people that are there. And I think it's a blessing that they can get out and they can get to Russia, because the majority of the Ukrainians, where are they going? They're going to Russia.
Well, they're obviously fleeing to other countries too.
And Poland and
But that's the only thing, again, the other thing that scares me is Ukraine is not the finish line either. So once it's Ukraine, then there's the other 6 other countries that used to be a part of them as well that they're going to inevitably go into. And then God forbid if China ever really locks into Taiwan. It's over. We are having World War III. There's no other way about it. It is happening, and it scares the shit out of me. So
I don't think I think there's going to be a threat of it, Nick.
There's been a threat of it for 20 years.
Because they've been scaring us for my entire life. They've been scaring us.
Well, here's another. Wow, we need to end this because this is going to turn into so much other stuff that we desperately need to talk about. Next week we need to talk about Pelosi going to Taiwan. We need to talk about China in general. China in general is fucking insane. We need to talk about natural gas going on in Europe and gas prices in general going on in Europe, which we've talked about, but it's actually starting to come fruition and will get way fucking worse, and it's crazy. We need to talk about Trump and the FBI raid. Yeah. We have to talk about that. There are so many things that we need to talk about, but a goal that I think we're trying to make is making this slightly shorter, and we're trying harder to be more on topic. Because we get all ranty.
I know we do, but
place.
I think that's what makes it real, and
of course,
why I think we need to keep doing what we're doing.
I agree,
but
completely.
I think a little bit shorter will be better. People can listen to us.
Yeah.
They probably will laugh at me and maybe you,
of course,
and get something out of it.
That's
I really appreciate it, you guys taking the time to listen. Mm-hmm. I love this, and I missed it. And
it's the best part of our week for sure.
I think this is our conversation together. I wish more people had conversations. You know, we were told years ago, you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics. Those are 2 things you don't talk about it. Why? So then, who made up that rule? That's a bogus, stupid rule. That's how we lost control. And that's how we get it back, is that we work together and we stop letting these evil people divide us. So when you're at Thanksgiving this year, make sure to argue about religion and politics with your whole family. You don't have to argue. I think we are a good example. Yeah, but our voices get raised, and sometimes that's because we love each other. Most families don't love each other. Or they have a very small patience gap to where the second you start saying the opposite, they're like, well, fuck this, I'm out of here. And then, you might see them next Thanksgivings. But that's the whole point. Make sure you talk about religion and politics at Thanksgiving this upcoming year.
and see what happens.
Hey, I say start talking about a Labor Day next weekend.
Or tonight at dinner.
Or
So tune in for next week. We love you. Thank you for tuning in and staying for this long. Please like and subscribe, comment if you have any feedback that you want to give us or anything that you want to add to the conversation. How do you guys feel about the inflation, or not the inflation, but with the overall executive order that just passed with student loans? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me your opinion. Donate to our Patreon. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.